So the history of Chapter is really interesting. Back sort of 60 years ago, there kind of weren't art centres. It's a really interesting thing to think about now, the fact that there's these art centres all over the country, but they kind of weren't a thing. And but what was really, really clear was that artists needed somewhere to work. And so back in kind of like the late 60s, early 70s, some artists got together and they were like, right, okay, we want to have a place where we can work and we can kind of create art and we can kind of show it to people. And so this building became available. So it was a school. And until fairly recently, there was somebody who worked in the bar who actually went to school here. So it's it was a proper primary school. So you might, if you come to Chapter, you'll see the boys entrance, girls entrance on sort of still on the outside. And but it had become vacant, and so some artists they did a big fundraising concert, and sort of like Pink Floyd played and things like this in Sophia Gardens. It was like a big deal. They raised a bunch of money, and they got permission from the council to kind of have this as a space.
Chapter was probably one of the first places I found when a long time ago when I started making films here, and it's where I kind of discovered the community of filmmakers, and then it's been really nice to work here and get involved and help to hopefully build that community of filmmakers as well.
Well, independent cinema is important because we're independent. That's the biggest thing about independent cinemas, and it's like I live here. I live here in Wales. I live in Cardiff, and I program a cinema here in Chapter. I program Chapter here in Cardiff. The majority of all of the multiplexes, they all are based in London, and so it's just not an independent voice. So as lovely as we are, we all have this. It's really important to support each other. This, the big chains and small community cinemas. Everybody works in a big ecosystem of the cinema landscape. But the important thing is that we can respond directly to what people want to see, what our audience wants to see specifically. So the chains will be sort of looking at sort of bigger trends and things like that. But if somebody says to me, I want to see this film, then I can take it and I can sort of try and get that shown. So that's the independentness of the voice. It's like we often show sort of politically engaged material, and obviously if we were not independent we probably couldn't do that. So there's all kinds of really useful reasons why independence is really important.
I don't see a future where independent cinema no longer exists. I think it's interesting that it's having been around for a while now. You sort of see trends come and go. I think we'll always find a way. We're like I mean this in a nice way, a very persistent weed. We're very hard to kill, and we'll always just find new cracks to kind of come through. So.